listening to Bridges Live. Welcome to our live podcast and our live show with Voices to be Heard with Miss Tamara, Randolph. And please introduce yourself. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome everyone back for the new year. Welcome back to Voices to be Heard.
Happy New Year, everyone. I am Tamara Randolph. I'm founder and owner of KEPT. KEPT stands for Keeping Every Possibility Tangible, and it's a nonprofit organization devoted to women who may have suffered through domestic violence. So we want to be a safe haven and inspiration for them to get out of those toxic situations. And it's always a pleasure to join Dr. Paul here every other Wednesday, unless it's a holiday.
Unless it's a holiday, then we're skipping stuff, we're missing stuff.
Right.
Now, when we talk about domestic violence, it and I just had the show before we came on was You Be the Judge with Marilyn Pierre, and I had asked her, how do you get someone out of the house that is maybe mentally not healthy and they're having episodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a quite concern to me, because if it's not a criminal issue, it's not a court thing, they haven't been documented, there's nothing to say this person is whatever, you just want them to get some help. There's no way to I didn't think there was a way to get them out.
Well, you can't. I think there. And you can let me know what her response was.
Well, her response was, you can call a crisis, and they come with, the truck and mental professionals, and then they will hash this out. But my still concern is, and I even told her, is what happens if by the time whoever gets there, this is all dies down, and now it's a he said, she said, or whoever your partner is, it's you against them, and that's tough.
Yeah, I think that's definitely tough, and I'm not sure that I've seen or I've heard of a ton of rollouts to that extent. I think responses have been police officers, and depending on the status of the situation upon their arrival, then oftentimes it's not they're not necessarily escorting anyone out to find some type of remedy. They're either like, do you want to go to jail, or are you pressing charges type of thing. But in the ideal world, it would be something similar to that. And either way, whether it was the professionals, because to that, someone would need to be on call 24 hours a day, similar to the police, and with the ability to dispatch if that, whatever that code is, come across the screen. And I really think that's the way it should be. It should be someone there to kind of assess the situation, that's not necessarily going in, trying to, I don't know, with a gun per se. But their only role is to figure it out and see if this person needs my help, and if we need to remove them from the premises. And it doesn't necessarily have to be I'm taking you to jail, but this is the option for this evening until we figure out or get to the bottom of it.
And if anyone has any questions, whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be on Instagram, whether it be on Facebook, if you have any questions about domestic issues, or you just want to tell your story, and that's where Voices to be Heard is. It's for you to tell your story, because there's a lot of stories that it's almost like it's like a thing for one of those Law and Order shows. There's a lot of stories in the Naked City that hasn't been told. There's a lot of stories out there, and people are afraid to tell their story, and they're afraid for whatever reason. And we're not here to judge you on your reason of your story, but we do want to say that you're not alone, and there is help out here, and that's why you developed She Kept.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly why, because I felt. So my mom was a victim of domestic violence, and victim meaning her husband killed her. And so that's why oftentimes I try to make sure I'm speaking properly, and not everyone, doesn't really like to be classified as a victim, because a lot of the women are survivors. They've been to said situations, and they've overcome them. And even if they are going through day to day, you're still living, you're still breathing, still functioning, that I still would consider you a survivor. But I created Kept because my mother, over 25 years ago now, she was killed by her husband. And I am not confident that there were organizations that were even speaking out about domestic violence. And I think it was more of a, like, this is something private. I feel like I've been taught and I've heard that, your relationship is your relationship. You need to keep things, whatever goes on in your household, to you, between you and your spouse. And if I feel like if there was an organization, or if she was able to see someone that looks like her, or someone that has a similar background, or just hears a story that resonates, that she would have, kind of woke up and said, you know what, this isn't where I need to be. And I owe it to my children, to my family, to my parents, to make sure I live to see another day. Because really, you can find another guy. It's kind of the way I would kind of end it there. But
and when it comes to, so here's also when we want to talk about domestic issues. Mm-hmm. When we talk about in the house domestic, we're talking about someone you have a relationship with. Yeah. Now, if there's work violence, I think that's a whole other issue. If there is a best friend violence and you go to their house but you can separate, I also think that's different. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know what that is called, but I do know if you are presiding with someone, that's where domestic issues are. Now, you can also have domestic issues with your children. Now, we have not talked about domestic violence where children are violent against the parent.
Right. No, we haven't talked about it. And I would love to hear, I don't hear very many stories about that, but I would love if there's anyone that's listening or watching, if you have some stories, and it's it can be as anonymous as you'd like. But again, I think that one of the reasons we started this show is that people are able to hear our voice and know that, you are not alone. Right, you are not the only person that's going through this. Yeah. And, oftentimes you just need that encouragement. I know that when I speak to my therapist, sometimes it's just me talking aloud and I actually hear myself saying some stuff and I'm like clearly, you're not supposed to do this. And as it's coming out of my mouth, I'm like, and see, that's exactly the problem, But it takes for you to hear it, because oftentimes you can let things play in your mind. And I know that you were kind of hinting earlier toward there, when you are residing with your abuser, it's a little different because you feel like, there are a number of layers there. So if they are, someone that's financially taking care of the household, then it's a little, it's kind of, that's a barrier that you're going to have to overcome. Mm-hmm. If you guys have children together, that's another barrier you'll have to overcome. And then on top of that, I think the shame part is a huge barrier that we can just carry with us. We're ashamed that we allowed ourselves to go through or be in this situation.
Let me touch on that, because I think that shame thing is it's a juggernaut to get past it. And I'm going to talk about the neuroscience part about shame. The way the brain. Now, there is a distinction between the mind and the brain. The brain is the chemical component of the head, right? It allows everything to come in, to receive, to transmit. So when the brain is in one of its centers, and it is as the hypothalamus, I'm going to keep this below the belt. It calibrates shame as a trauma effect. The idea of shame is still traumatizing. So the mind feels trauma as a pain inflicted. So it changes your concept of what shame looks like, because it keeps it away from you. So anytime you feel shame, that triggers the mind to start hiding things. and putting things away. And that's why you don't always remember things that you felt shame of. So when someone asks you to recount something or to tell a story that you are shameful of, you're not trying to lie, but the recreation of memory is not calibrated in the brain because the mind has hid it behind the hippocampus. And so it does not engage the prefrontal cortex of where memory can come out. So a lot of people don't remember things because of shame, and it's not because they are trying to forget. That could also be true. But if you ask somebody like a week from now, like, what happened to you, and they're shameful, they may not fully remember all of it. And even if they try to like think about it, the mind is trying to shatter those memories because of the internal pain you felt. So it's trying to protect you. And that's so amazing of what the brain does and how it all. And so it's actually your initial concept of when things are happening, how you categorize it immediately is how it's going to be stored.
Wow, okay.
Now, when something's happening to you, we're in a relationship, and I'm throwing things at you like, I'm so ashamed of this, boom, that's where it gets processed and how it gets processed. And so it's so many things happen in such quick, fasting things about the neurons and the synapses that happens in the brain that when we try to talk about things, it's difficult. And that's why we go to therapists. That's why, because there are words that you have a hard time not saying, because that's when you talk to a therapist. As a therapist, if they're good, they'll be like, let's unpack that. That word. I know.
I don't know how to unpack that. No, but that's very helpful, and just bringing awareness to that, because I think we can all relate to that. Like, being ashamed of something, and you're trying to go back and recant a situation, and you're like, I'm not really not trying to share. I just really don't remember.
Right. And it's and people would say, "Come on, man," or "Come on, girl." You're just trying to front me. And they're like, "No, I am." And the only way it comes out is if you can backdoor information. Like something will trigger it, and then you're like, "Oh, here it is." Because that's the only way, and that's the way memory. See, memory is a recreation. It's not the actualization. Because if it was actual, it would be happening the now. So it's a recreate, and the brain recreates through different firing signals. So a lot of signals. Now, if you are mentally unhealthy, your wiring isn't always firing the right way. So there's a whole other issue. And if you don't even know you have mental issues, like you could be, what they call it, where, sometimes people in the winter get it. Because lack of sunlight, and they go into this little lull in the wintertime. I can't remember, but a lot of people feel very down. So now the memory is also struggling because they feel down. Okay. I'm not going to say depressed. They just feel in a lull, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of things when it comes to memory and expressing yourself and trying to heal oneself. That's why asking for help. I won't stop beating the drum. Get mental help. Ask a doctor to come check you out and let them give you the okay. That's what 2021 should be for everyone, is to go to a therapist, and I don't care, pay that fee, that one-time fee, and say, why are you coming to me? I want to get checked out, And if the doctor says after a couple, that's hour long, I tell you what, a good therapist in 1 hour can tell you, like, I need to see you next week.
Yeah. And there are a number of therapists, and you'll just have to do your research, but there are some therapists that are actively working now pro bono to support, this pandemic that's affecting everyone. And, specifically for us who are not only affected by the pandemic that, that's worldwide, but and then being Black also, we got a whole other thing.
There's a whole other level to it.
Yeah, so it is extremely, extremely important that we get the help that we need, especially because in these times, we're alone more than ever before, or a lot of us are. We're at home in the same place doing the same thing, not being able to socialize, not being able to do that one thing that was your outlet, and the gyms have opened up now, but at one point there was no gyms, and some people still have anxiety with being around people. So all of that to say, that's all just harboring some things and some feelings that you may just need to talk to someone with. And then almost everyone is accessible online, some type of chat where you don't physically have to be there, but it's a video chat, and you can do a phone as well. But it is imperative that we take that step and put ourselves as the priority for this year. If never before, you figure out how to carve out different times throughout the day to do something, especially for someone else, which I fall victim for. I don't necessarily all the time carve out my me time.
Why not? What I mean, you are along with more women than men. Mm-hmm. Don't carve out me time. Why? Why not? Why in the hell not?
Right, and that's the issue. That's the question I'm trying to ask myself. Okay, my therapist asked me the same thing, and I was like, I don't know, and she's like, so that's not an answer.
That's really not. I'm just saying, it's not an answer. We need more.
I think. I mean, for me, I feel like I've done this for so long, and it just feels so natural for me to give and overly exhort myself, and without question, it'll go time, and I haven't done anything for myself. I haven't taken a break. I haven't done a vacation. I haven't done anything. And I am making myself I'm intentionally making myself a priority. That's something that I've been trying to make sure I do for the last few months, but this year I am just not accepting anything other than that.
So we've talked about a lot of things when it comes to voices to be heard. And if anyone has any questions, please give us a call. You can give us a call. You can inbox us on YouTube, Facebook. Or you can give us a call. You can be brought up on the air, 301-789-3174. When a person has been in a relationship that wasn't healthy, mm-hmm. How can they then start dating again? That's the question. How can someone say, I'm ready? What is it? Are you ever ready? Do you have to make the decision to be ready? Is there something you say, oh, I'm just going to go for it, and then all of a sudden you're running away every time you think you see a flag? I mean, that's very delicate for any person who says, I think I could be that person for you. And you're like, I don't know. I've heard this before, and I don't know.
Yeah, I think if you are leaving a toxic situation, you have to address yourself first before you jump into another situation.
Okay, but now it's been 5 years, so now what do I do?
But that doesn't mean you address yourself. Yeah, that doesn't mean that. You took a break, from dating anyone else. But you really do have to focus on yourself. And the thing about being in relationships and being in love and stuff like that, it's a risk, and that's the scary thing about dating, I think. And then the older you get, a little more apprehensive you are, because I need to start all the way over again. I got to learn your name,
right.
Learn what you like, learn what you don't like. But the important thing is to take care of yourself, love yourself, appreciate yourself. And I think that transitioning into a new relationship would be a little easier because you're going in with your eyes wide open,
but doesn't it happen
as well?
But doesn't it happen when your eyes start being wide open? I think you start hearing things, seeing things. Like, he normally calls me. I'm going to use a he/she. He calls me at 2 and it's 2:30. What's up with that? You know what I mean? Do you start like?
Yeah. I think that I don't necessarily think that. I think there are women and men, okay, that do that.
Right.
Okay. Listen, at 2, I had to go to the bathroom. My bad. I fell asleep. I took a nap. Jumped on the call. The little Zoom calls happen. It could be anything. So,
but then you get the You get the
That's all a totally different situation. But I mean that part happens. That definitely happens. But I think honestly, and seriously, I think the important part is to learn yourself, and you gotta get the help that's necessary. Leaving a situation, especially if it's been something that's gone on for years and years, I feel like there are pieces of yourself that you neglected for so long. And so without you gathering those pieces back, you are going into a new situation, haven't had an opportunity to collect your pieces, put them back together, and, give that new person a whole you. And I think not only do you deserve to be whole and happy, but if you want to successfully enter into a new relationship, you owe it to that person as well.
One of the things that I hope that we learn how to do is express ourselves. Mm-hmm. And expressing ourselves takes that work. And you cannot fall short into the work you must do. And Tamara, you said this, that you must take care of yourself, because for you to move forward any way you think is forward, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, if you're not doing the hard work for your internal, external self, you're going to always fall short. And if you fall short, then you're going to miss out on the opportunity that love will be there for you. Yeah. And I think we all deserve love. I think we are love. I think we as human beings are love.
Yeah, we are love, and I think we all deserve love, and we all deserve the right love, like the love that feels good. That love that, like, Shonda Rhimes will write about, like, I want that, okay? But realistically, we all, and being serious, we all do deserve love. And like you said, we are loved, but we have to make sure that we love ourselves as well.
So Voices to be Heard, we're here every other Wednesday. We're here on the live YouTube, we're on live Facebook, we're on live Twitter, live Instagram. You can always hear the broadcast again on Apple Podcasts, iHeartTunes Podcasts, where any way you pick up your podcast station, you can pick up Bridges Live, Voices to be Heard with Tamara and I. And we're here to hear your voice. Today, I cannot stay away from it. This thing, because we're around the capital area. We're not going to give our addresses because we don't want any proud boys knocking on our doors. But we are right here.
They don't want that smoke. I ain't gonna talk like my hair.
You're like, I dare them to knock on my door. That's exactly what you said.
Okay, you see my.
You're like, knock on this door. I said, hey, even in my household, names will not be said. It was already mentioned. I dare them to knock on this door. I got something for you. So,
okay. Don't let this lipstick fool you, because
we are in a shift of high proportions, and this should help you take a look at where do you want to be? Who do you want to be? And how are you going to do it? So even in domestic or any other situation, we're in this time. We have this time to say, hey, I'm gonna, and I would like to, all those words are ...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think, it's as I've heard a lot of people say, but it's a lot of audacity out there. People think that they are owed so much and they can't accept reality. And regardless how many fact checks and truths we put in front of them, if it's not what they believe or not what their president says, then it isn't true.
When you talk about fact checks, there's all these many things come out through the week. If a person's dating a married person or likes a married person and has the idea that they're going to leave this person and they haven't left yet, isn't that a fact that they're not leaving? Isn't that a fact in itself?
You should assume that, yeah.
I mean, it's been 2 years and you haven't left yet.
Yeah, like why aren't you gone? Right. Like what's holding you back?
So that's a fact that's put in front of you that you can't accept. So I think that has a lot to do with the development of people. We have not acknowledged the things that we tend to hold on to something that is not healthy for us. I think that's a learned behavior somehow.
I agree. Yeah, I think so. I think that's definitely a learned behavior. And if it's comfortable, and whatever that comfortability means, if it's comfortable, then I'm going to figure it out, and this is what I'm used to, or, and it's easy for us and for people to just say, oh, well, that's how he act, that's just him. Like, no, that's not okay. Like, I just don't agree with that. I don't agree with things I just have to not accept and make sure I'm not accepting is people who are toxic, regardless of their relationship to me. If I don't feel safe, if I feel uneasy, like I don't have to be around you. I don't have to stay. Oftentimes if I'm going somewhere, I always prefer to drive myself, because in the event that I'm just like, nope, I want to be able to go. I don't want to be like, have to get somebody if I ride with them. So all of that to say, you don't have to be there. You have to make the decision regardless of how long I've been dealing with him, how long I've known him, how close he are, how many people, how much my other family members may love or like him. They don't know what's inside. They don't know how you're being affected each and every day. And you owe it to yourself to be happy. You owe it to yourself to feel safe and secure and to enjoy life. So that's kind of my...
And with that, to have safe, secure, and happiness, you must also understand that you just might need the mental help to get there. I am not pulling the punches that, you're not happy in this relationship, but the problem could be you. If I'm not happy in the relationship I'm in, it could be me because I'm not mentally, emotionally healthy enough to be in this relationship. And maybe I should find that out first before I be like, it's all your fault. It's all pointing the fingers away.
Yeah, you have to take, and that's the part we were talking about earlier. Like, you have to take a look at yourself and addressing and reevaluating yourself. And that's why getting therapy and getting that help is super crucial to you growing and maturing. Like, for me, just personally, I think I'm of sound mind, like I think that I got most of my stuff together, but, it's just to me like that one little thing. But I am not ashamed to say I talk to a therapist or I go to therapy because I know that there are things and traumas that I've dealt with or I've had in my past. I witnessed my mother's death. I witnessed my mother being stabbed to death. It's something like, even that phrase was something that I, at some point, wasn't comfortable with saying. So I would just say, my mother died. Like, no, she was killed, and it wasn't until I started going to therapy that I understood how that trauma over 25 years ago has led to the decisions I've made along the way, and affected, relationships in the way I, even look and treated myself. So that's something that I am very passionate about now, and I'll always talk about it because I want people to know that it's okay. It is okay.
Even the therapy I give, I'm still very happy about myself seeing a therapist every week, and a lot of black men, they look at me and say, "Really, you go?" And I absolutely, because I doesn't matter how much I do what I do and study what I study and learn what I learn, I still need my commander, my therapist, so I can talk to, so I can speak, sometimes, like you said, when it comes out of your mouth, you're like, wow, my therapist would go, oh, I hear what you're saying, did you hear that? I'd be like, oh, shoot.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the awakening, we kind of need. As often as many of us go to the gym, Dr. Paul, if you guys don't know, he's in the gym every day, okay? Killing it. But, I mean, seriously, but just as you take care of your body, as we decide what foods we are not, or we will and won't eat, your mental health is just as important. And mentally, if everything's screwed there, then it's going to affect everything else. Just functionally, it's not working together. So it's very imperative that we take that step. And if never before, now is a great time. Right. We're only 6 days into the new year. And even if we were 6 months in, now would still be the right time to do it and to focus on yourself because you deserve it.
Thank you for listening to Voices to Be Heard. We're about ready to come out of here. We've been on the show. So, again, we'll be here back every other Wednesday. You'll let us know. You can always put in the comments and questions if you want to talk to us or comment with us. Please contact us. We're here for you. That's why it's called Voices to Be Heard. Before we take off, Tamara, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I wanted to see if I could share my screen. It has resources there. Can you let me know if you can see that?
Yep, I can see that. Good job.
Okay, awesome. So on the resources, it's locally, but if there is anyone that's watching and they just need that help, I have some important numbers and websites there. So the National Domestic Violence Hotline, we do have the number there, 1-800-799-SAFE. You can call or chat, and then the hotline.org/help. If you're online, you can actually chat there, and they have some safe keys. If someone's coming in the room, you don't want them to see, you press the button, one click, and it'll take you away from the screen with no kind of track in your history. The National Sexual Assault Hotline is also there. And then there are also local shelters. So here in Baltimore and the surrounding areas, and I'll try to continue to add to this. So if there's anyone that's joining in or tuning in, I'll put some additional shelters. But again, family therapy is there. Very important. We were talking about earlier, just being around people you love that are toxic. That's not okay, whether they are your parents, your siblings, like it's still not okay. There's therapy there, and then local shelters and transitional housing. So just wanted to share that. I've been trying to get to make sure I share that each week, but I'm glad I was able to do that.
Good. But we'll make sure you get that done.
Yeah, awesome. So that was really all I had for that part. Whatever you like us to do now, I'm okay.
Well, that's it. So let's pray. You can stop sharing the things so we can see us to pray us out. I think you got to stop sharing. There you go. So let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together to Voices to Be Heard. Let people hear our voices so to let them know that they're not alone. In this time, you are always with us. In our always time that we should ask for your help, we should be there. As friends, family, loved ones, we know the right of the gift of God and graces, that we are loved and cherished. In Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. My sister, I will see you in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon, everyone.
Bye-bye.